Hi, James. I wanted to leave you some feedback on your week two writing assignment, your rough draft. Since you submitted as a PDF, I found that the videos shows a little bit. The video is a little clearer in terms of the text on your essay if I leave it in Blackboard. So hopefully it's not super fuzzy like PDFs were showing up in my other videos. So I think that you have a lot to work with in this draft. So one of the things that I can see that you definitely did is you picked from those questions on the brainstorming activity that I gave you to respond to. So I think between this draft and the final draft, you want to try to figure out um, a good story, a clear story to tell, right? So, one of the things that we're going to talk about in class this week is a narrative arc. And essentially, what I mean by that is all stories have a clear beginning, middle, and end. So, I think what you want to figure out is with all of these ideas that you're working with here, what do you want to keep that will help give you that arc, and what perhaps was just part of your brainstorming and shouldn't belong in the final draft. As a reader, I can go ahead and give you some feedback on what I think would work well as potential, but ultimately know that what direction you choose to take the narrative is of course up to you, since you are the writer. You're the one that has to write the paper. So the first off, one of the things that you have to write about is place, and you have to write about it in clear detail. So you tell me up here that most of your family, at least on your dad's side, lives in St. Louis. I don't think in this draft you say where your mom lives, um, but I can only assume that this house on Way, there it is, that the house on Ruby Way is in St. Louis. So if this is the place that you want to write about, that's really the only place, the geographical location that I could locate in the paper. And it seems that you have a lot of good memories based on what you say in this sentence, uh, of Ruby Way. So I get the sense that this is something that you can talk about in descriptive detail. So the one thing I feel that's missing, if this is the place that you want to talk about, remember in the assignment description I say write about place in rich detail. You need to make sure that you do that. All you tell me is this is your childhood home and you have a lot of memories there, both good and bad. So paint the picture of what the house looked like. What did it feel like to be there? Capture Ruby Way for me, right? So not only is it the house, but what do you remember about the neighborhood? And what did you learn about yourself from that neighborhood? Who were your friends, right? What messages did you receive? Um, and you say that, right? I've got a lot of good friends there that I still talk to today. Well, bring those people in. Who do they look like? What did they do? Um, Another really interesting thing that I think that comes up in your draft. Where is it? Uh, you talk about the value of work, and you even bring in this fantastic moment of describing your father and how he would go around and collect, for all intents and purposes, junk as a way to make money for the family, and how that really instilled in you the value of work. That is a fantastic story, waiting to happen, right? You just need to actually tell it through the descriptive details instead of just summarizing it like you've done in this draft. It's perfectly okay that you did it here in this draft. You're allowed to because it's just a draft, but that could potentially be a story as well. The other thing that I thought had a lot of potential here is the place that you find yourself in, politically, right? This idea here that there's all this pressure and expectation on you from society. And I think what you mean by this is both the black and the white community. They have all these expectations of you based on race, that you should align yourself a certain way politically, but you're finding that you don't do that, or you don't necessarily think the way that society expects you to, and it's causing tension for you in relationships. This could be a fantastic idea to stretch out, and I think that this is a story that would be interesting to hear right now, because of the political moment. So if this is something that you want to talk about, and if you think you can make connection to a specific place, like perhaps Ruby Way, or perhaps lessons that you learned from your father, or maybe even your mother, right, that could help you create place, which is one of the things that you wanna describe. I think that this could potentially, this has a lot of potential for a fascinating conversation. And I think that you're right. I think that you're getting at some real truth here, right? That we kind of have this, uh, society kind of has this unfair expectation that ethnic groups should all, or racial groups should all believe the same thing, whereas like there is no one singular perspective, right? And that's not fair to make that assumption. And what I like here is you're kind of, you're toying with that assumption, right? You're saying it's not true, and in fact I am a living example of why it isn't true. So in a nutshell, a lot of really good, interesting ideas going on here. I think the things that you want to figure out is, number one, where will the story take place, right? Because part of the assignment is describing place in detail, and then what story are you going to tell, right? It feels like you've got pockets of story here and there, but what you want to figure out is that clear narrative that will give you the beginning, the middle, and the end. And if you heard that noise, the mail lady just knocked on my door. But that's excellent timing, because I'm wrapping up your feedback too. And there's the dog. All right, James, I'm really looking forward to seeing where you take this. And we'll talk more in class this week.